Hey everyone, hopefully you're having a good day. My name's Andy. My channel is Finding Value. Today we're going to do our daily technical analysis update of commodities. We're going to work our way through the dollar, yields, precious metals, and commodities and ETFs that I follow. I'm going to give you my financial opinions on all of this stuff. And if you need any help with anything, check out finding-value.com. There we go. We do have a discount still going on. September is the coupon code, and you get 50% off the first month if you want to try it. We do have a question and answer session also coming up on Sunday, 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Let's dive in. Let's see what's going on with the markets. So starting with the dollar, the DXY, we are flat. Not much going on. It's not really a reversal candlestick yet. It very well could be if we throw a big candle here with that gaps up and comes on down, which would be a bearish engulfing, but we don't have that yet. So we're going to wait. We'll see what happens with the dollar. Looking at yields, yields continue to be strong. It tried selling off today. We can see it earlier in the day. We can look at this from a line here. It tried selling off, but it keeps getting, keeps going higher because it's yields. So bond market sold off towards the end of the day, leading to higher yields. So the 2-year remains quite resilient. It's looking pretty good to continue at least sideways or higher until we get a clear downtrend established below this trend line here. So sideways to higher until that trend line is broken. The 10-year yield, it still remains very resilient. We're still in this uptrend and not much selling pressure. And the 30-year, not much selling pressure. Every time we get a little bit of selling pressure, it gets bought back up. We're definitely in an uptrend. So yields are continuing to be in this uptrend, and the dollar it's the same way, dollar strong. The TYX-TNX ratio heading a little bit lower today. The curve inverted. It inverted with the long end going down more than the shorter end. The curve is still inverting to some extent, and we are remaining at a very low level for the ratio of TYX-TNX. So that ratio is low, and it's generally a good spot to be looking at precious metals at this time. Problem is, we just haven't uninverted yet. The recession, the slowdown, whatever it is that a lot of people say that is coming, has not come to fruition yet. Bond prices also remaining quite low, and we're just right on support. They're not really going up. They're not really going down. We're right on support. So gold, it didn't really go anywhere. Sideways today, just like the dollar and similar to yields. Silver down a little bit. It does look like it's trying to turn. That's why the opening and closing prices of these candlesticks are getting closer and closer together. The momentum is slowing down, and it does look like it wants to try to put in a bottom and turn. And we'll see if it does that over the next week. Platinum getting a little bit more selling pressure. We're in the 800s, dipping into the 800s now, 896. We're back towards, let's do a longer term look and view at this thing. I mean, we're getting close to the cost curves down here. So generally when you hit the cost curves, it's got to go higher. It's just a matter of time. Your cost curves are in the $800-900 range, and that's exactly where we're at. XAU to gold ratio, also moving flat today. So gold and silver mining companies not really doing much today versus gold itself. So we're flat. The commodity index down very ever so slightly, but still looks good. We're still above that support there. And we've broken out of the bigger pattern to the upside. So it still looks good to grind on higher. CRB to S&P 500. It still looks fine. We had a little bit of a downward movement, but still looks good to go higher, where commodities will outperform the S&P 500. And we've broken the long-term downtrend line. GDX, moving sideways. Not much to report in any of these. They're all moving sideways. They are waiting for a clear direction from silver and gold. And what yields do are going to have an impact on that. Crude oil up 0.52%. It's kind of hanging out in this general location. We zoom back out a little bit. So this is zooming in. We just zoom out here. We're looking to see if this thing's going to turn over, or are we going to re-accelerate to the upside? Right now, let's go to the monthly here. So we're just kind of looking at downtrend line break there, and then you draw another kind of uptrend line. This is on a really short-term basis. Somewhere like that, we're still in this uptrend, and it hasn't turned and broken that uptrend line yet. We'll see if it breaks it next week to the downside. If it goes down, we might get a little bit of a pullback. But again, I'm zoomed way in on this. I'm in the very, very short term. So we do have a little bit of momentum lost in crude oil, and it's been moving sideways. Nat gas up a little bit, 1.12%, still above a lot of that support. The support's all through this guy down here. This one here, there's your support. We're still above that support. XOP, yeah, you know me, 1.15 up today, still above the neckline, which is the support. Everything still looks good. We just got to be patient and wait for oil to continue higher and XOP. OIH moving sideways. You can see we've got a couple of sideways days here. Now, we're not really pushing, the sellers aren't really pushing this thing. So we've been moving sideways. We can kind of zoom in on it. We're kind of just moving sideways here in this channel. And there isn't much selling pressure as of yet to see in the stock. So we'll see which direction it goes. Let's see what happens next week. Bigger, longer term view, I think we're going way higher than where we are today. Sprott Physical Uranium Trust up 0.75%. It's not a bad candlestick here, guys. We could roll to the upside. So what makes me determine that? Well, it's a hammer candlestick. So if I were to zoom in here, I just throw a simple downtrend line here, right? We've broken that on the very, very short term here. Kind of a trend line going down. Delete that one. Simple trend line break to the upside. This is kind of your reversal area here. We've broken on out, so we'll see if we can keep that momentum to the upside of this short little pullback that we've got. So that is a hammer candlestick, generally a reversal candlestick that works its way higher. URA also getting the hammer. We're busting out the hammer. It must be hammer time. Still looks good if it wants to try to go higher. URNM also sold off kind of towards the beginning of the day a little bit and then bounced back up. Looks good. And URNJ also doing the same thing. It's hammer time. So we've come on back and now we're trying to bounce higher. We'll see how sustaining that bounce is going into next week. TAN moving sideways. Kind of a weird looking chart here. But hold on back. We've got support in the $50-ish range, and we'll see if it turns there. COPX down, but again, we're within this pattern, moving sideways within the channel. We've got lithium down a little bit. We're still in the falling wedge. No new update there. Just a little bit more selling pressure today. We've got REMX also getting a little bit of selling pressure. It doesn't look horrible. Still within this pattern that is moving down in that channel. S&P 500. A little bit of a down, up day today, 0.14%. And again, it's really not much of anything. You can see all small candlesticks, small down ones, small up candlesticks. It doesn't really have a clear direction here. If I were to guess, maybe this could go down one last little move before heading higher. NASDAQ, same thing as the S&P 500. It doesn't really have a clear direction here. It's just kind of bouncing all over the place. Emerging markets down a little bit with that stronger dollar, but I mean, dollar was basically sideways. Emerging markets basically sideways, but in a generally good location. XHB down a little bit. I'm not really seeing a huge bounce. I do think it's going to break to the downside here in the short term. We entered this from the downside. We consolidated back up, and I don't really see a bounce here, at least not yet. So I do think we could see further downside in home builders. Moo also looking like we could see further downside, getting a little bit of selling pressure here. We got to see some buyers step in for me to change my mind. Copper also selling off towards the bottom end of its channel here, but we're still within the pattern, so just wait and see what happens. Iron ore firming up a little bit. I still think this is going to work its way higher. This is a consolidation falling wedge that we've broken to the upside. Nickel just moving sideways for nickel, but again, we got to see some buying pressure in here for this momentum to reverse. Aluminum down 0.67% on the dailies. It still looks all right. Not much really going on here. It's a little bit of a bearish engulfing, but we still have a wick at the bottom. Yeah, buyers and sellers are dueling it out between each other. Baltic Dry Index up 5.5%. This still looks good to go higher for the Baltic Dry Index after breaking out to the upside of this falling wedge. Newcastle Coal still looks good to go higher. We're doing a retest of this line here. Bitcoin just selling off today, and it looks like we just can't gain any traction in any direction here. The buyers are pinning the sellers, and the sellers are pinning the buyers, and we've just been tracking sideways. So be interesting to see which direction Ethereum and Bitcoin break. I don't really have an opinion on it because I don't have any money in it. So, but that's what I've got for today, guys. Thumb up for the content, subscribe to the channel. We're kind of just meandering around for the most part. I would say energy still looks the best of any of the sectors if I were to sum it up. Copper still trying to figure out a direction it wants to go. Aluminum still trying to find some solid footing. Is weakness in the market going to prevail over the strength in the market? That's really the question, right? Yields are still drifting higher, signaling that people do not want to own bonds for whatever reason that is. Is it inflation driven? Probably. Is it problems with the United States, issuance of how many bonds they're issuing? That probably has a significant factor in it as well. So that's what I've got for today, guys. We do have a 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time question and answer session coming up. I'll see you guys there if you're members. Bring your questions, and we'll catch you next time. This is Finding Value.